Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast, brought to you by Join Cycling for stage 19 of the Giro d'Italia from Biella to Champoluc, 166 kilometers long, a nearly 5-hour long stage. A long stage with 5,000 meters altitude gain, even though it's not 180, 220 Ks. And we had long climbs, the longest of the race so far, including 3 climbs about 45-50 minutes. The Secore, Sant Pantaleon, and Col de Jube between 15 and 16.5 Ks at about 7 to 7.5% average. But the last one is not so hard. It's 6 to 7% for the last part. It crests 25 Ks from the finish, and then there's a gradual climb, the Antagnod, which is 4.2 Ks, 6% towards the finish, and then there's a short descent to the finish. So actually quite a similar finish to the La Motte stage the other day, like a gradual climb. Del Toro started the stage in the GC lead about 40 seconds ahead of Carapaz. Simon Yates on 51 seconds. Derek G on about 151 further back, I believe. So what were you expecting from this stage, Benji?
Honestly, when you look at the parkour, it's 5,000 altitude meters. So fatigue is definitely going to hit. That's something that matters. If it's not by the end of today's stage, it might hit some riders tomorrow on Finestre. But I was expecting some action because, while on paper, in the history of the Giro d'Italia, especially in the year of 2023, Lussari was something that everybody was scared about. A super steam time trial climb on stage 20. The entire peloton was scared there. GC riders didn't dare to attack the day before. They were like, okay, if I attack here, my TT tomorrow might be terrible. And I was kind of expecting that effect to not necessarily happen today because while Finestre is the hardest climb of the race tomorrow, the gaps are relatively close, but most importantly, there's blood in the water. Carapaz has dropped Del Toro in this race before. And on top of that, there's multiple riders in this race in GC in the top 10 that will want to make a difference here. So I was looking at Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe to really take something on because that team was a team, if you look at GC yesterday evening, you see that Pellizzari is behind Egan Bernal. And let's be honest, Egan Bernal's been on the ropes for a week. So it's logical that Pellizzari sees that as a prey to maybe overcome on a massive day like this one. And then there's also other situations who will go in the breakaway to try and maybe move up to a top 10 position. Which riders will go in the breakaway on that first climb at the start of the parkour that you mentioned? That's a breakaway formation climb if I've ever seen one. So there's a lot on the table here to have lots of action today. And we'll get to whether that happens or not and why that might be the case or not. But about the situation, shall we start talking about break formation first of all?
So I just one-handed caught a mosquito in the air. That's just a level of skill whilst podcasting that, yeah, you can't teach that. You can't teach that level of skill. But indeed, break formation, it's the satellite rider galore. EF want to have 2 in. Visma want to have some in. Bora want to have, probably for the stage / Pellizzari, they want to have some in. UAE think, if you're all going in, we'll throw in Arietta. That seemed to be the plan because actually UAE, I think McNulty tried a couple of times when a Pidcock went, when a sort of GC relevant guy went, but otherwise it was for Arietta. And in fact, no one of real note on GC earnestly tried to get in the break, Benji. Tiberi, I guess.
Pellizzari tried. On the first climb, there was a move, a chasing group where Pellizzari bridged towards, and EF ended up closing that. I was maybe a little bit surprised that EF closed that, but on the other hand, you might give it the argument that if Pellizzari goes up the road, then UAE won't let them go, which won't allow the EF satellite riders to have enough time on the road to begin with, be useful later in the race. But that's a whole stretch of an argument if I've ever seen one. But you're right, outside of that, we just had a couple of top 10 candidates, the McNultys, the Pidcocks in the world that tried to be in the breakaway of today. But when did the breakaway form? Was it just before the foot of Secore or on the climb itself?
It was in 2 parts. Yeah, there was the Lemon Steinhauser part that gets joined by a bigger group. There's then another bigger group behind that, which has Van Aert and Arietta in it. And then, it forms just before the Secore, which is the hardest climb of the day. Trek have 4 guys in. De Wolf was the tug buddy, I think, of Prudhomme. Prudhomme is in, Tiberi, Bilbao, Donovan, Cepeda, the Movistar one. Verona for Trek is probably the guy they're going to go for. Tarozzi for Bardiani, and Scaroni to take KOM points for XDS Astana.
Yeah, that's true. And about the KOM points, I think we need to wrap the KOM points up, because reality is Fortunato is out there. Scaroni is literally the only rider before the stage started, I think, already that could potentially take the Maglia Azzurra away from Fortunato. But during the stage, the mechanics of the KOM points being taken away by Scaroni on a climb, then by a couple of other riders, at the end of the day, Fortunato is secure. Fortunato has won the Maglia Rosa as long as he finishes in Rome on the 23rd stage. So 21st, not the 23rd stage. He doesn't have to do 2 extra, don't worry. But that being said, KOM battle aside, it's a breakaway. It's a damn strong breakaway. It's like 33, 34 riders maybe in total, but you pointed out exactly the satellite riders. You pointed out the Van Aert Lemons of the world, the Rafferty Steinhausers of the world, the Tiberi Bilbaos of the world, although I wasn't sure whether Tiberi was a satellite rider or not when he was in the breakaway. And I looked at this breakaway and I thought to myself, okay, Arieta, there are different types of satellite riders. We've spoken about this a few times before. Arieta is a defensive satellite rider. He's going up the road to later, if Del Toro is in trouble, be of use to Del Toro. Whether it's on the Col de Joux, the second last climb, on the Antaniot climb to the finish line, wherever he gets caught, he can be useful for Del Toro later in the race. So he's a defensive satellite rider. Then the attacking satellite riders are Rafferty and Steinhauser, but the dynamic of this parkour makes it that an attacking satellite rider does not necessarily need to be used in the same way we always talk about. So, Patrick, for example, if satellite rider goes up the road, goes over the climb, let's say their leader tracks towards that satellite rider, and there's a valley in between the 2 climbs, then that's that type of satellite rider scenario. Here it's kind of different. Here is the kind of satellite rider where Rafferty and Steinhauser are up the road, but there's no real valleys here, unless you talk about the last Antaniot climb in the last 15 kilometers. But between the Col San Pantaleon, the third last climb, and the Col de Joux, the second last climb, these satellite riders will basically just be up the road and get caught by the GC group and then start working in the GC group. Those types of satellite riders, which is a different type. We should make like a manual for satellite riders. There's different types, you know?
Well, this whole race has been about satellite riders, yeah, because they haven't had mountaintop finishes. They've had these hard climbs far from the finish and then gradual descent finishes or valley finishes or a little like hills like Le Motte and today. So the satellite riders have been very, very important. But basically, nothing happens in this race for... we just sat there and watched them pace like at 50-minute climbs, you know, and just nothing much happened. Okay, it was initially... I don't even know who, but okay, yeah, I like to do it off the top. Baroncini does it in the peloton. Secora, he lets the gap out. He actually, UAE don't pace so hard on the first climb. They pace it like slowly. They're happy for the break to win. And in the breakaway, we see like Bilbao pace a little bit, Van Aert and Pedersen pace to get the break established, and most of the break actually gets dropped. And then on the steep part, Rafferty and Steinhauser actually do probably too much, give it some gas, and they drop then another half of the breakaway, and there's not many left. It's Verona, Lemon, Arieta, Prodom, very, very selective, and they take it out to 312, 330. The descent stays around 330. I thought, Benji, that it would just keep going out, and the break would win.
I thought so too. But across the Col San Pantaleon and across the Col de Joux, those 2 climbs, we just see this constant effect of then Rafferty gets dropped from the breakaway. In the peloton, we see Red Bull Bora-Hansgrohe taking over for maybe a setup for Pellizzari. There we see an EF rider taking over for a bit. So those were the 2 teams initially on San Pantaleon really trying to put something into the peloton. Tratnik takes over from that EF rider. Rafferty takes over after being caught by the peloton. It's a constant loop effect like that. And it just keeps going like that until 7 kilometers from the top on the San Pantaleon. And that's the interesting part here, Patrick, because let's say 7K from the top on the third last climb, EF and Bora-Hansgrohe, they stop working, Baroncini takes over from UAE. Those are the kind of moments you don't want if you're a team that tries to put pressure on the race, because UAE is going to set the tempo Del Toro wants. That's the reality. Yes, any tempo you can put in as an opponent, as an EF Rebel Bora Hansgrohe, will put extra fatigue on top of Del Toro maybe for the next 2 days. But at the end of the day, you want to set your own tempo to make sure that pressure is there. Because Baroncini, as I said, will do the tempo Del Toro wants. And that's what Visma Leasebike and IPT know at this moment. So Kruijswijk and Schultz come to the front, and
Schultz.
they take over for Simon Yates and Derek G. And Schultz, you call him the POC killer?
Well, yeah, he beat Pogacar. I mean, it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. He did the same descent and got away when Israel lost the wheel on the tricky Saint Feliu de Guijols descent into the finish on stage 1 of Catalunya. And then Pogacar, he was like the only guy to beat Pogacar in a road stage for...
Oh, yeah! That's funny, the reference. It's a stage where Del Grosso nearly won this year, right?
Yeah, it's exactly the same way. Schultz won it the way Del Grosso nearly won it. He sets a good pace, and he's dropping guys. Like, Pidcock's gone. We see guys struggling. Cepeda gets dropped, the last climber for Carapaz. And so EF have burnt through he's their best climber, and then Rafferty's come back. He's gotten dropped. And so they just have Steinhauser up the road, and the break is just attacking each other over and over again. And if you want to be stronger than guys getting dropped out of the Grand Tour Week 3 breakaway, you need to get on Join Cycling 30-day free trial, no strings attached, and then afterwards the best value training platform on the annual subscription through our link down below. If you want the structure and performance gains of working with a coach but without the hefty price tag, the Join Cycling app is a no-brainer. A fully adaptive training plan based on your fitness, your time availability, and goals. It updates automatically. If you miss a session, you have an hour less availability when you wake up that day. You ride outside the plan, you change your race targets. It's basically what you'd get from a personal coach, but at a fraction of the cost, working out at under 10 euros a month. So go check it out. If you're serious about improving and want maximum value, Join Cycling's annual plan, you can do the free trial first, is the way to do it. So go through the link down below and let Join Cycling take care of the rest. But the breakaway, Benji, I saw there's like 3 games in the break. Bilbao to get Tiberi maybe back in GC. Verona Prudhomme for the stage. Probably Tiberi's more looking at the stage here. And the satellite riders of Arietta, Steinhauser, and Lemon. Yeah. And so there's no cooperation.
No cooperation. And it's interesting because if someone attacks, you do see that Arietta is sitting on the wheel of both initially Steinhauser and later Lemon. And he doesn't really want to do the work here because he's just that defensive satellite rider. It looks like Arietta's not in it for the stage, which is logical. He's here as that satellite rider. But to be honest, in that breakaway, not too much happens from that moment on that specific climb on the Col de Saint-Pantaleon. The main differences are made at the foot of the next climb, except for Steinhauser waiting from the breakaway to the peloton, and Harper, who had been looking good for the stage so far, cramping out of the breakaway. So that was a bit disappointing to see for him. Then we see the descent of Saint Pantaleon. Poole, who had been dropped in the GC group already on that climb. By the way, quite a few riders were dropped on Saint Pantaleon because of the tempo of Kruijswijk and Schultz, the likes of Cepeda and Aliotti, and that matters, because those are the setup riders. Carapaz, outside of Steinhauser ahead, is isolated in the GC group. Pellizzari, outside of Aliotti now dropping, while Pellizzari, that's holy. That's ages ago. But Pellizzari, he's also isolated there. So it's harder to attack people if there's no one to lead you out. And we'll get to that on Col de Joux here. But in the descent of the Col de Saint-Pantaleon, Bardet brings Poole back, but he gets dropped again at the start of the Col de Joux. The gap is 3 minutes at the start of the second last climb, the last proper climb of the day, 15K at roughly 6.5%. What do we see?
I see nothing happening. Why would anything happen, Benji?
Are you asking me seriously, or?
UAE on that climb, it's 6.8%. UAE have the strongest team by far in the mountains, and they're happy with Del Toro's gap. No other team has a satellite rider that's going to make it over the top of that climb to help on Antoniod. So where are you? I've said this multiple times in the Giro. I sound like a broken record, but yeah, where are you going to go? If you're Pellizzari, if you're Derek G, Bernal's struggling himself, Simon Yates has nobody ahead, and Del Toro, it's different if Del Toro wanted to be active, but clearly Del Toro was in defense mode today, which is fair enough. Well, to a certain extent. But then Visma come back, they pace with Kelderman after Kreuzweig, then Lemon Benji. But Lemon's pace seemed hard. It reduced it to 10 guys, but there was no follow-up.
There was no follow-up because you're still halfway climb. But I gotta set things straight here. I actually somewhat disagree with you on the where are you gonna go. So we're about to fight here, like proper fight. So get ready, get the gloves on. I actually think there is something you can do here. Because if you take a look at the team of UAE right now, and you see that group, you see Micah and McNulty. What have we learned about McNulty in this entire race? McNulty's also riding for his own GC. Whenever there's an attack, also in the Col de Joux climb, we see the response as followed. And I'm going to show it right now with 5 kilometers to go on the climb. Micah's doing a gesture to Arietta, who's basically done for and can't really take over anymore. But Micah's like, come on, buddy. Pace, pace, pace. At that moment, Pellizzari does an attack, a soft attack, and Micah controls that. It's no response by Del Toro there. But whenever Carapaz attacks, Del Toro responds by himself. Del Toro responding by himself, that has a reason. If you look at Micah and McNulty here, McNulty's a paper tiger. Whenever there's an attack in the group by the likes of Carapaz, McNulty does his own tempo for his own GC. He's not trying to control that rider. He's not trying to do anything except for trying to survive for his own GC. So it's only Micah. And Micah, fantastic rider, invaluable for the team. But if you want to win the Giro d'Italia, you got to have some confidence in trying to attack Micah plus Del Toro, especially knowing if you attack, if you're Carapaz, Del Toro reacts. So even Del Toro doesn't have 100% confidence that Micah can control you, which is logical because Carapaz is a better climber than Micah. So Carapaz should know that. And I think if you know that McNulty isn't going to be part of that, it's basically Micah and Carapaz. Micah and Del Toro that you can attack, in my opinion.
So you're saying like if Caruso, Yates, Carapaz, G start rolling Del Toro with 2.5Ks to go on that climb, that they could have created problems for him.
I think they could have created problems for him. It's
looked
hard
too
to know.
Easy.
Yeah. The thing is, if you don't try, you're never going to know. In a day and a half, the Giro's over.
Yeah, I think though a lot of okay, let's run through Bernal. He just can't do. He's not strong enough to attack there.
Correct.
Rubio's happy with his position, probably can't attack. And
it has to be Carapaz.
Has to be Carapaz, Yates, or G. G has the big engine, and also who's responsible for closing G?
Well, that's the thing. I think only Carapaz can really do the effect here. Because Simon Yates didn't look like he really... If Simon Yates doesn't attack after Visma Leasebike does an entire lead out for the first half of the climb, which it's an annoying moment to really have to attack with like 7K to go on the climb. But if he doesn't do it there, then he's got no lead out fluid later, and he doesn't necessarily have that snap that Carapaz has, in my opinion. So it has to come from Carapaz, who every time he attacked in this race, Del Toro was the one responding, not UAE. So that pattern is gonna continue. So it's gonna be Del Toro responding to Carapaz either way. So I think Carapaz shouldn't have waited until you either attack earlier than the last kilometer on Col de Joux, or you don't attack at all on this climb. Because if you wait until the last kilometer like Carapaz did to soft attacking, there's no value there.
I think Carapaz wants to go with Del Toro, get cooperation, and then he can work with him like he did after Lamotte, and then you have Yates in a blender.
Yeah, but who cares about Yates? He's not the one you're trying to beat to win the Giro d'Italia.
Carapaz
is trying to beat Del Toro.
Carapaz is trying to take time on Yates today. Carapaz is not worried about Del Toro.
I'm sorry, but that is a mistake.
Carapaz is not worried about Del Toro at all.
Okay.
He thinks that he'll kill him tomorrow on Finestra. That's how he's thinking of the sequencing.
I think it's a realistic thing to think still, but I think he should very much be thinking about Del Toro and not just Yates.
Yeah, because we'll see that later. But yeah, I think that's how he's playing it today. He's like, I take more time on Yates today, and then I can drop Del Toro tomorrow.
But every effort you put in trying to put Yates on a larger gap might be something you miss on Finestre tomorrow.
Could be. But yeah, it's not like Yates isn't working behind. But yeah, Yates responds in the wheel. They stop. Pellizzari tries to attack over the top. Now, I'm going to go really old head here.
Oh,
And
no.
so Pellizzari attacks just over the top of the climb. Micah comes past him and tells him calm down a bit. He does the hand motion. And listen, no one can accuse me of being a shill for UAE. Or I haven't liked it when Novak told off some Vinny Fantini guys for not going in the breakaway on a UAE sprint stage. We called it out. We said it's nasty stuff. I'm on Micah's side here. Pellizzari is not legitimately attacking. He's not actually trying to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Pellizzari, if you've watched this Giro, has on like the crest of a lot of these climbs, he did it on the previous climb.
Yep.
He's kind of just attacking to then be in the middle of their trains for the descent. And I have to say, proof is in the pudding at the end of the stage. Pellizzari is a little bit erratic on the descents, his general behaviors on the bike. He's not like the smoothest, safest guy on the bike. He's enthusiastic. He's having a fantastic Giro, great rider, etc. But Micah's just, I think, being like, listen, you're not actually attacking. It's a little bit of a camera attack. We're going to pace the descent. Like, we're in control. Just don't then go in between me and Del Toro and start like doing weird shit in corners. I think that's what Micah was doing.
Yeah.
Am I being too generous?
I don't particularly care. I just don't necessarily... I haven't been very fond of the attacks of Pellizzari in general, regardless of the reasoning you just gave. I just think they have been meaningless. There's no speed to them. There's no way he can get separation with that. It's... He got the surprise on everybody on the stage where he did attack, which was stage 16? Was that correct? San Valentino? Yeah, that was 16. That's where he attacked with surprise, and there was no immediate response to that. But now he just attacks from the front while barely lifting the tempo. And he attacks for like 7 seconds maximum. And yeah, maybe Bernal is gapped a little bit at the back, which, to be honest, that's what he needs. But then he doesn't do the follow-up. So he then goes off the front, and it goes back to UAE pacing, which Bernal can just latch back on, you know?
Yeah, he's not actually... Again, in principle, you should be entitled to attack when you want, do whatever you want. It's a free race, etc. But Pellizzari is not actually trying to really... Because then he goes 1K to go. He goes straight away, like...
Someone in the YouTube chat says he's clip farming. He's trying to get like these TikToks made about him.
I legit think a lot of riders have been doing stuff this race, and I would do it too. Boost up, get the Velon clip, get the Instagram reel going of like
Derek
when
G with the little fox.
Nah, Derek's just a lad. Derek he's into animals and stuff. We speak. I've sent him some like. I've sent Derek some bird videos I took in Australia of like a tawny frogmouth. He responded. He was quite interested in it. Sent it to him on Twitter.
There's a bird that is called the 20 frogmouth. Is it because he can eat 20 frogs?
No, it's a tawny frogmouth.
Oh,
it's
boring.
It looks like an owl, but it's actually not an owl. Anyway, it's supposed to be nocturnal. I saw it during the day in the shade. Got a good video of it, and I let Derek know that, and he
No free promo for the bird. I'm sorry.
No free ads for the tawny frogmouth. No free ads. Anyway, UAE under control. And what was shocking to me on this final stage, Benji, is that UAE, their goal today, goal A, is Brandon McNulty's top 10 on GC. Goal B is Isaac Del Toro.
What? No, I don't.
Who wins this stage if Prudhomme's caught?
Well, I agree with that principle, but I don't think it's goal A, goal B. To me, I don't actually have an issue with how they ride here. So to give some context, over the top of the Col de Joux, the gap to Prudhomme is manageable. It's a minute. So if McNulty and Micah go all out, Del Toro can win the stage. But on the other hand, if Del Toro comes second, he still takes 6 bonus seconds, which will take 2 seconds on whoever is behind him. So it's all about, is it worth doing all of that for a stage win and 2 seconds at the risk of maybe isolating Del Toro in the process if Micah and McNulty spend their bickies trying to chase down Prudhomme?
Yeah, I mean, yes, but what does UAE care about McNulty's GC? What does it matter?
I'm not talking about McNulty's GC. I'm talking about the man himself, Del Toro, as in he doesn't want to be isolated by the end of Antagnod.
Yeah, he does. You know where he would have been isolated?
Wow, in front of people.
Isolated, the best place to be isolated, as I always said, the best place to be isolated is in front of the race. Solo. It's the best place.
Except Wout Poels.
Except Wout Poels, then he's burning his matches. I mean, yeah, it seemed like they were like, okay, UAE were happy with the status quo, which was going to the Venestra stage with the same gaps. I thought it was a free stage win for Del Toro and he could take more time. But anyway, it doesn't matter because we see Richard Carapaz on the Antagnod climb. Mike is setting a slow pace. The gap to Prudhomme's 140. Carapaz slides back to behind Derek G. And then we see right at the end, just like on Le Motte, he does what Del Toro did. He attacks. Yates is in the wheel of Del Toro. He can't respond. And he gets a gap. Yates is immediately looking to Derek G, looking to Bahrain, and Carapaz is off. He's pulling this whole climb all out. There was a moment where he attacked a second time. He was trying to do two things. He was trying to drop Del Toro because he rode stop start on the climb.
Yeah.
Big attack. He stopped a bit and then he went again. Couldn't shake Del Toro. Del Toro wasn't pulling on the climb, and then Tiberi starts pulling all out for Caruso on the descent. That saves that group, although they're still losing. It was up to 30 seconds at one point. Del Toro starts to relay on the descent a little bit, but more I think actually more pressure. It didn't help Carapaz. On the descent proper, it pressured Carapaz actually.
Yeah.
And Del Toro goes into the last corner, first wheel, and takes second. Oh, I feel bad for Nicolas Prudhomme actually. We've really we've not given him much of much airtime. But Nicolas Prudhomme this whole time is he's thankful that UAE probably didn't pace with McNulty after the Col de Joux. He wins a race that Paul Sechas said he could never win. Paul Sechas said that Nicolas Prudhomme was a washed up veteran who wouldn't win shit in his career. Gifted him a Tour of the Alps stage, and now he's won the 5,000 meter Tennivel stage solo in the Giro.
I love the extrapolation of the interview.
It's kind of what Sechas said.
It's kind of what he said. He basically said, I believe that I'm confident that I'll be in that position again to win a race like this. I'm not, with Prudhomme, he's a bit older. We don't know that for sure. Well, he won a Giro d'Italia stage, so Sechas probably thinking, why did I gift this guy a Tour of the Alps stage?
He's like, there's no good washed up fuck. Yeah, I have to give it to him. I'm going to win 50 races in the next 4 years. And then Prudhomme's like, I'm going to drop everybody in this Queen Stage breakaway just about. Incredibly strong.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that Sechas gave it to him because actually the team says that Sechas should win it. So anyway, Decathlon needed this. They haven't had the best sprints with Bennett. It has been not good for the sprinters this Giro really at all. It's been so hard because of the way Trek rode it and the stages. And yeah, big win for Prudhomme. It's good to see a guy like Verona. I mean, he's not 45 years old, he's 28, but a guy who's not been the biggest star, continue to improve. He's improved this year, he's improved year on year, and he's had a good season. And now Tour of the Alps, he backs that up here and wins a huge stage for himself and Decathlon. Behind, as I said, Del Toro wins the sprint in front of Carapaz. He takes 2-second delta on Carapaz from the Bonies, 58 seconds. That's 24 seconds ahead of the Caruso, McNulty, Bernal, Simon Yates, Tiberi, G, Pellizzari group. And there's, of course, 4 bonus seconds for Carapaz as well. In that final corner, Giulio Pellizzari crashes himself in honor of his fallen teammate. Very similar style. And he, from what I can see on PCS, has been given the same time. I haven't rewatched the crash, Benji, but first of all, 3 kilometer rule being applied. Bullshit. On these stages is crazy. It's crazy. Secondly, I haven't watched it, but if he crashed himself, then right? Isn't that what the new rule is about? If you just crash yourself, exactly. You don't get the benefit of that rule. So that Schachmann shouldn't have won Paris-Nice one of the times.
Exactly. This makes no sense to me. Did he actually get the same time?
From PCS, he's on same time.
That's ridiculous. It's not the other. Why should he be credited with the same time if he can't ride his bike in the last 50 meters?
Yeah, Yeah, I don't know. Bernal, if I'm Bernal, I'm complaining about it because Pellizzari's climbing better than Bernal. I mean, maybe it doesn't matter tomorrow on the Finestra. And he remounted really quickly and he wouldn't have lost much time, more than 10 seconds anyway. But this rule that they introduced to UCI, I can't make no head nor tail of it. I don't know when they're going to apply it. I don't think they know how to implement it. Twitter's confused about it. Is it a multi-crash? Is it one rider? Does it have to be their fault? How do you subjectively decide fault?
Yeah.
So they introduced it because the Roglic-Remco crash in the Puy-Marie stage last year.
It should be applied here.
How do you decide?
If you crash alone...
Yeah, but what if a guy chopped you because they're out of control?
Well, that's why the rule is stupid. We agreed that the rule was stupid in the off-season, but the rule exists now, so you have to apply it.
I don't know what the rule means. I gotta say, I don't think anyone does. I
Just
think they're too scared.
delete the 3-kilometer rule and let chaos ensue.
They're too scared to apply the rule, so they actually don't apply it at all.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think to go back to Micah's defense, I think he's been seeing a bit of that, and he wanted that not around Del Toro on a 20-minute descent. I think that's why he gave the tranquilo gesture to Pellizzari. In terms of GC, Del Toro extends his lead, as I said, by 2 seconds. He's now 43 seconds ahead of Carapaz and 1:21 ahead of Simon Yates. Carapaz extends his lead by the best part of 30 seconds on Simon Yates, who's on 1:21. Derek G, 2:27. G initially was on a gap himself, maybe because he was caught up. Because G was caught behind the Pellizzari crash and then I think got put on 5 seconds. Luke is saying, did he crash himself or did someone chop him? I think, I haven't rewatched it. It may have been the case that someone chopped him, to be honest. They were all fighting crazily for that corner, even though the bonies were gone. So, just to defend Pellizzari a little bit. Caruso stays in fifth. No mercy. Caruso stays in fifth on 3:36. Bernal on 5:13 in sixth. Pellizzari 5:32 on 5:30 in seventh. Rubio 6:39 on eighth. Stora moves up a spot, 9:11 in ninth. McNulty moves up 2 spots. He's on 9:33. He's in top 10 now. Max Poole loses a lot of time, and he's in 11th. Tiberi moves up 3 spots from the break. Yates, Adam, that is collapsed. Well, yeah. He lost a lot of time today. I think he finished on 9 minutes. So he moves out from 9th to 13th. Didn't have a good one. Pidcock 13th to 17th, and that's it.
But I don't know, McNulty's now top 10 in GC.
Yes.
He achieved his goal.
You know who would have been useful to have in the breakaway tomorrow over the top of Finestra, who could have survived in front from the break and won't be allowed in the break because they're too close on GC?
They're too close on GC.
Brandon McNulty.
Brandon McNulty's not too close in GC to be allowed in the breakaway tomorrow.
No one's going to let
9 minutes.
Who in the top 10's been allowed in the break so far this Giro?
Stora once, Rubio once. I'm really trying here. Okay?
I gotta be honest, I don't know myself the answer. It could have been every day.
McNulty?
McNulty
he wasn't in the top 10 back then.
Yeah. Okay, that was the stage ready. I saw a lot of blame on Twitter for the riders. I don't see it. Like, okay, maybe UAE.
I think it's both.
The last climb's not that hard, the last long climb. And then you got this up and down. It's not a mountaintop finish. You got shallow gradients. UAE got 4 domestiques. And the Finestra tomorrow. I never thought that's why I thought Del Toro would win today. I thought he was going to win a sprint.
Yeah, but I disagree with your UAE has 4 riders. For halfway Col de Joux, it's 2 domestiques. It's McNulty and Micah, of which one is an actual domestique, which is Micah, and Micah's super strong. But if you want to win a Giro, you got to have some confidence that you can drop Rafa Micah. And if you don't, then you're not going to win the Giro anyway. And yes, I agree. The parkour, the gradients isn't crazy, but it's not like it was flat either. There were some steep gradients where something was possible. You're not going to tell me that Arietta was a valuable domestique on the Col de Joux.
Micah was furious with Arietta about something.
I don't know what. Well, yeah, I think he wanted Arietta to pace, but Arietta was done for, I think, was the reality of the situation.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, that was stage 19. GC, it's not over, Benji. You've got the Finestra tomorrow, 205-kilometer stage, one of the longest mountain stages of the Giro, over 4,000 meters elevation gain, but most of it is in the last 35, 40 kilometers. Flat start from Veres. It's maybe it's flat and it's actually hilly. I think it's actually hilly and it's just in proportion to Fenestra. It looks flat. It's hilly, but not hard climbs. We have a category 4 and then we have a category 2, which is actually 13 Ks at 4%. It's not that hard. Not like today, at least. There is a 6K, 6% section, but today we had 3 45, 50-minute climbs. It's a long time before the Fenestra. There's 155 kilometers to the base of Fenestra. That is a big time for a breakaway to take a big advantage. Fenestra is the beast of this race. It's been hanging over this whole race, 18.5 Ks, 9.2%. Category, it's an HC climb. It's the it's the highest point of the race for sure. And it's gravel for the last half. And it is so steep. 9.2%. It's brutal. Torres destroyed the record last year. There's a descent halfway down, and then they have a flat of about 6 Ks before they go up to Sestriere, which is gradual. How long is that climb actually? Then there's the Sestriere is actually, but it's like 6K, 6% again to the finish with a flat 4% last K. So it's not that hard to finish, but I think, if Carapaz, I don't see how if he doesn't drop Del Toro on Fenestra, it's over. You're not gonna drop Del Toro on Sestriere.
Based on what I've seen in this race, I do believe Carapaz can drop Del Toro on Finestre. I would expect Carapaz to drop Del Toro on Finestre based on what I've seen in this race. It's a 18.4 kilometer climb at 9.2%, of which you don't need 15 riders to do a lead out on a climb like that before an attack, in my opinion. Right? Like, it's hard at any, there's attacking spots everywhere.
Yeah, there's no particular moment I could point to and be like, oh, well, it's like a climb like Giro today. If that was the last climb, you'd be like, okay, they're going to steady pace the first 7 Ks, and then when it's 5 Ks, 9.5%, they'll ramp it up there. The whole of Fenestra is hard. Probably they're going to be blown apart before they even get to the gravel. I'd be surprised if they were still a group when they got to the gravel. But we're going to see, Benji. I think.
The question is, the reality is this. So, at the start of the stage, there's going to be a breakaway. In that breakaway, every team wants satellite riders, including UAE, because once you get over the top of Finestre, you would love to have someone in front as a defensive satellite rider to pace the first slope of Sestriere, which is not a crazy gradient. You're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4%, the first half of that climb. That's where you want your domestiques, your satellite riders up the road. On top of that, the other teams like EF, like Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, like Visma Leasebike, if they want to attack on Finestre, they need to have some kind of lead out ready in the peloton as well, next to the riders in the breakaway. So those riders need to be present in the peloton then to do that lead out in the first place. I expect teams to try that because they want to launch their rider if they're confident that they can gap people on this climb in that way. Carapaz, EF are going to attack on Finestre 100% because otherwise they come in the Giro d'Italia. And the question for UAE is going to be, Del Toro follows Carapaz if an attack happens, but how close can the other UAE domestiques stay as close as possible to the top of Finestre? Because if they can get over the top there, and they're not that far behind Del Toro, who is not that far behind Carapaz, there might be a realistic scenario where Del Toro might be better off waiting for a few domestiques to then pace the half of Sestriere.
The problem is Del Toro's bigger than his domestiques.
Yeah.
Except for, so Yates and Micah are not going to go faster than Del Toro, assuming he's not completely cracked on the flat or on 4 or 5%.
McNulty, maybe.
He won't be there.
He's in the top 10 now, my friend.
He won't be there. If Del Toro is with McNulty at the top of Fenestra, and he's not from the GC group, then he ain't coming top 5. What you think? Think this climb is 1 hour.
It's
steep
way
as
harder.
Fuck. 9%, and then the actual gradient with the gravel makes the effective gradient steeper. Like, these bigger guys have a big disadvantage.
Yeah. It's you need to have satellite riders over the top of Finestre, right? We agree on that.
That's the thing. So it's really finely poised because then the Brazafonso aficionados who get the gap, because remember, Torres showed small man up steep climb, go fast. General principle of cycling. But small man on flat goes slow compared to 70 kilo man. So yeah, and then that's going to be what do EF do? EF got to have Cepeda can't go on the break because he got to do the lead out.
Correct.
But he was bad today.
Yeah, he needs to be better tomorrow.
You got to be better tomorrow.
It's like we're like telling, got to be better tomorrow, Cepeda.
Jefferson, you obviously didn't try today.
Screw off the bad legs, put on the good legs.
I think, yeah, Baroncini, he's been really strong actually. He'll manage the first part of the race. Big break will go. I think break will win. The break needs a big gap.
Yeah. It needs a big gap, but there's so much terrain to do it.
It's 155 Ks. So who's winning from the break then?
Oh.
Louis Manchis. I'm going with Louis Manchis. He looked good today. The climbs weren't steep enough.
I need to take a look at
what gap does Louis Manchis need on Finestra behind like the guys chasing him for the last 20 Ks to Sestriere? So big. I think Manchis
Taco van der Hoorn as a satellite rider in front of the breakaway.
Yeah. I think Manchis wins.
You think Manchis wins?
Yeah.
I'm low-key a bit shocked by that choice. You reckon Verona tries again?
He's too big.
It's not impossible. It's too like on paper you'd say, well, you say that, but after the top, the terrain benefits him more.
Too big.
Too big for the slopes after Finestre.
I think
Florian Stork is too big as well, right?
I'm trying to see the stage results today. Who finished close at small?
I'm going for Tom Pidcock.
He's got to go on the break, right?
Right, that's what I'm saying from the breakaway.
Yeah, Pidcock
coming from the GC group.
He has to. He's got to save his Giro with an iconic win on Finestra.
Yeah, I'm saying Tom Pidcock wins tomorrow.
That's a good shout. And I think they let him in the break now. I mean, where is he on GC? He's 17th on 27 minutes. That he's allowed to go in the break. Pidcock, yeah, Benji's got it. I forgot. Yeah, Benji's got it. I like Manchis.
He's not that certain.
No, he should win. Manchis, because also if he's in a group of 3, he'll beat them. So
I also imagine, by the way, the gap before Finestre is so large that there's gonna be Fuga de la Fugas before Finestre.
Oh, so like Louis Manchis, he needs Taco in the break with him tomorrow. Louis,
but then Taco will be ahead before Finestre even starts, and the group that got away.
Taco will keep it together for Louis to do the business.
I see that.
You know who battled last time in a break? In a Grand Tour together? Who did Tom Pidcock drop on Alpe d'Huez?
Froome?
Louis Manchis.
Oh, also, yes, that's correct.
He was the last guy battling with Pidcock. I think Froome dropped a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I'm sorry, buddy. It's over.
GC, what do you think happens?
Oh, my brain says Carapaz drops Del Toro and wins the Giro. My heart says I want Del Toro, but to win by 1 second.
That would be crazy.
And then are there bonus seconds on the Rome stage?
I think Carapaz is going to kill him.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It's also just basic gravity, you know?
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's like what we said about Verona versus Pidcock. Yeah. Like let's say their climbing has been more or less equal up to this point in the Giro. Maybe that's not even true on stage 16. Then when you take them to this climb, and it's 200 Ks. I think Del Toro also said like he can feel it on the longer stages. It's not like the U23s. Like this is going to be a long stage. Yeah, it's hard to go past Carapaz dropping him. Can he keep the gap? I think so. I think if he drops him, it's not going to be like 45 seconds. It's going to be big.
Oh, you're talking about he's going to crack him completely by the top and it won't come back after.
Yeah, I'm dead. Maybe not that bad, but he takes such a big gap that even with someone pulling for him, Del Toro cannot close it back for GC.
Do you think Del Toro should 100% react to a Carapaz attack in the middle of the climb?
He kind of has to.
You say he kind of has to, but if he does, that's going into the red on a long ass hard climb.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't think you have a choice.
I don't think he has a choice. The gap is too small that you can just be like, I'll pace myself.
Yeah. I think so too.
And then I think Carapaz won't stop. He'll ride stop, start, pace, and it won't be on a 4% climb like today. It'll be on 10%, and that'll be curtains.
I think so too. I am also of the opinion that. But do we then expect Del Toro to stay on the podium? I hope so.
Yeah. Because G would have to take a shitload of time on Del Toro.
And it's not a G climb either, eh?
Exactly. So Del Toro looks aight.
Yeah.
Maybe I mean, the ideal scenario for tomorrow's stage is that it comes down to like Del Toro 30 seconds behind Carapaz at the base of the Sestriere 6K 6% when they're both on the limit.
30 seconds?
Yeah.
I'm more on like the 50-second side because I see Del Toro better.
1 minute then. But there's bonies and stuff. So that would be cool.
Because for me, Carapaz needs to drop Del Toro by a minute by the top of Finestre. Because otherwise Del Toro can't come back.
Carapaz wins the stage. And Del Toro would have won the Giro.
Wins the stage.
But in his wheel, forget about this. Yeah, I got a new hypothetical. But someone who was sitting in his wheel, Del Toro's wheel, freeloading, sprints him for the final bonies of 6 and 4 seconds, and he loses the Giro by 3 seconds.
So wait. Who from his wheel outsprints him?
Giulio Pellizzari. He can't sprint.
He's also a bit taller than the average GC rider, no?
Yeah, Pellizzari's like tall, big guy.
Yeah, anyway. His shoulders remind me of like a baby Kreiswijk.
Baby Kreiswijk. Baby Kreiswijk was cooking today, actually.
He was doing pretty well. Well, didn't get him very far, eh? The only thing it got him was a pretty salty interview by Simon Yates after the race.
Yeah. Simon, yeah. Steven Kreiswijk thinking, what the fuck did I do?
I just did my work.
But also, it's like, he was on the front for a long time.
Yeah, he paced a lot. It's also like Calderon paced quite a Lemon paced quite. Obviously, I don't know what the plan was behind the scenes, so I don't know what Yates is referring to in the interview that he's saying. It was not what was planned. Maybe he's just salty that something didn't work out. But it's a weird interview. So anyway.
Yeah, Simon Yates certainly not happy after the finish. Yeah, he said, I think Daniel Friebe asked the question, what was the plan this morning? And Simon Yates said, not what happened on the roads. We have to review that. So we'll see what comes out more. But you gotta lock back in for tomorrow.
Yeah, true.
Like you have to.
When you were talking about someone out sprinting the Del Toro at the line and getting and then he losing by 3 seconds.
McNulty.
The entire chat was saying McNulty.
Yeah, the chat's smarter than me. They make my own jokes better than I can in the YouTube stream. Imagine. Dude, is that whenever you have a Grand Tour, Benji, and you get to the final stages and it's close? Okay, because we don't have Grand Tours like this anymore. Like Roglic dominated the Vuelta in the end. O'Connor was in red for a long time. It was nice. Pog just destroyed everyone in the Giro and the Tour. There's no, if this had done differently, it would have been different. If this is close, which it might be, you look back at so many different things. You know, should this team have done that differently? What if this guy had dropped back to pace and then the time gap would have been this? I
rewatched Col del Finestre 2018 and I saw Carapaz cook on the gravel and I was like, it's over.
Wait, did he do Giro 2018?
Yes, sir. He won the white jersey, or he was fighting with Lopez over the white jersey, Superman?
I gotta be honest.
Yes.
I didn't watch cycling then. What stage?
Okay. Welcome to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast.
Is that 19?
2018, buddy. The Froome one.
No, stage 19 though, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Carapaz came second that day. I think it'll be pretty good on Finestra. Yeah.
Although he did it on the last climb, not Finestra, but we'll take it anyway.
I'll have to go faster this year, though. Okay, that was our recap. We're excited for tomorrow. The Giro will be decided tomorrow. I think we should all be grateful that we're going into the hardest stage or hardest climb of the race still with the GC in the balance, which is something we've been looking for a fair few Grand Tours. I'm excited. I don't actually know for sure who will win, which in itself is a blessing. And we'll see you at the recap of stage 20 tomorrow. Until then, ciao, ciao.